It all started on a quiet Tuesday afternoon. A single phone call to the police kicked off a frantic search that would grip an entire town and leave investigators completely baffled. A pharmacist, Linda Miller, had simply vanished from behind the counter where she worked. The search for her would dig up a trail of bizarre clues and hidden secrets. But the biggest secret? The woman at the center of this massive investigation was a ghost. A person who didn't even exist. This is the incredible story of a disappearance that never really happened, and the decades old mystery it solved by a complete accident. The scene inside the Crestwood pharmacy was just normal, and that's what made it so terrifying. Around 3:15 p.m., a regular customer, Mrs. Gable, arrived to pick up her prescription and found the pharmacy empty, not just quiet, completely still. The only thing you could hear was the low hum from the refrigerators. Behind the counter, everything looked untouched. A cup of coffee was still warm. Linda Miller's purse was tucked on a shelf. Her car keys right next to it. The cash register was even a little bit open. But no money was missing. Linda was just gone. Police were on the scene in minutes. As an officer walked through, a deep sense of unease started to creep in. This wasn't a robbery. There was no signs of a fight. No shelves knocked over. No broken glass. It was as if the 45-year-old pharmacist had been plucked right out of reality in the middle of her afternoon coffee. By all accounts, Linda Miller was the last person you'd expect to just walk away from her life. For 15 years, she was the dependable, smiling face of Crestwood Pharmacy. She knew all her customers by name, asked about their kids, and always had a kind word. She was single, lived a quiet life, and didn't have any enemies that anyone knew of. Her life seemed to be an open book, and every single page said reliable. The investigation kicked off with textbook urgency. Detectives talked to her coworkers, who were in shock. They said she was happy that she'd just been talking about plans to renovate her kitchen. Her landlord called her the perfect tenant. Police canvassed the neighborhood, but nobody saw a thing. Her picture was all over the local evening news. Volunteers fanned out across local parks and woods. Their calls of Linda echoing as the sun went down. For 2 full days, the town held its breath, hoping for the best. But the police were chasing a shadow. The harder they looked for Linda, the more she seemed to just melt away. Days crawled by. It became a week. The investigation was stalled. There was no ransom note, no strange activity on her bank accounts, and no digital trail to follow. Linda Miller wasn't really on social media. Her life was analog, and that life had hit a dead end. The case file just got thicker with one negative after another. No sightings, no evidence, no leads. The town's initial fear started to sour into speculative chatter. Was she abducted? Was she living some kind of secret life? As the police department frustration was mounting, Detective Miles Corbin, a veteran on the force, couldn't shake the feeling that something about the case was just fundamentally wrong. Every lead they chased went nowhere. It was just that the trails were cold. It was like they were never even there to begin with. In a move of pure desperation, Corbin decided to try something radical. He was going to rebuild Linda Miller's entire life from the ground up. Assuming they'd missed something, he didn't start with her present, he started with her past. He requested official records, a birth certificate, a social security number history, tax returns, anything that would give him a government verified anchor to who she was. Then, the first report came back from the Social Security Administration. No record found. Corbin probably figured it was just a typo, a simple clerical error. He requested her birth certificate. His response was the same. No individual matching that name and date of birth exists. That professional comm started to crack. He ran her name through every federal and state database he could think of. The results was always the same, nothing. Linda Miller, the woman with a job, an apartment, a car, a circle of friends, did not officially exist. Her social security number was a fake. Her previous address she had listed was just a vacant line. The pharmacy had an HR file, sure, but all the information in it led to more dead ends. It was a perfectly built but totally hollow identity. Investigators had to face an impossible reality. They had spent over a week pouring massive resources and fueling public hope into a search for a ghost. The question was no longer where is Linda Miller? It was who was she? This revelation sent a shockwave through the entire investigation. The missing pharmacist case was now the phantom pharmacist case. Detective Corbin and his team weren't looking for a victim anymore. They were looking for the source of a lie. Who creates a whole new identity just to live quietly as a small town pharmacist? And why would they? The theory of the case changed completely. Corbin started a painstaking, almost archaeological dig through old records. He wasn't just searching for Linda Miller anymore. He was looking for any mistake, any misspelled name, or any misfiled report that could explain what was going on. He expanded the search nationwide and flagged any missing persons case with the name Linda Miller, no matter how old. And that's when he found it, a digital flag buried deep in the National Missing and Unidentified Persons System, known as NamUs. It was a cold case filed back in 2001 with the Marion County Sheriff's Office in California. The missing person's name was Linda Ann Miller, but the details were all wrong. This Linda wasn't a 45-year-old pharmacist. She was a 19-year-old girl who had vanished nearly 3 decades earlier. The date she was last seen was July 1st, 1973. At first, it made no sense. How could a cold case from the 70s have anything to do with their phantom pharmacist? As investigators pieced it together, the bizarre truth started to surface. The whole investigation had been one massive accidental coincidence. It turned out that the elderly customer, Mrs. Gable, had been reminded of an old friend named Linda and had mentioned it at the pharmacy. That name, Linda Miller, got mixed up in the chaos when the actual pharmacist, who was using an alias, suddenly quit her job and skipped town, leaving everything behind. Two completely separate events got tangled together, creating the ghost of Linda Miller, the vanished pharmacist. The search for a woman who didn't exist was over, but by complete accident, it had brought back the ghost of a real woman who had been lost for decades. The investigation into the phantom pharmacist was closed, but a new and much older file was now wide open. All attention turned to the grainy, black and white photograph of Linda Ann Miller, a 19-year-old girl with long, straight brown hair and brown eyes. She was described as being of Native American descent, standing 5'4" and weighing around 112 pounds. Her story is tragically simple and profoundly mysterious. Born on July 3, 1954, she was just about to turn 20 when she decided to go on an adventure to Mexico in 1973. But the most heartbreaking part of her case wasn't just that she disappeared, it was the silence that came after. Linda Ann Miller wasn't officially reported missing until 2001, a full 28 years later after she was last seen. Her sister finally made the report, preserving Linda's memory in a database. A ghost in the system waiting for someone to find her. So why the 28-year delay? In the 1970s, it wasn't unheard of for young people to travel and fall out of touch for a while. Families would wait by the phone, hoping for a letter, assuming the journey would just run its course. For Linda's family, that hope likely faded slowly and painfully over the years, until all that was left was a quiet, unresolved grief. By the time she was officially reported missing, the trail was ice cold. Theories are few and tragically speculative. She and her travel companion, a man remembered as Carrie Crystal, had boarded a Greyhound bus with Guadalajara, Mexico, as their destination. Did they decide to start a new life and cut ties? It's possible. Or did they meet with foul play? Some notes from the time suggest her companion may have died in Mexico that same year, but the details are lost to time and blurred by international borders. Trying to investigate a case like this decades later is nearly impossible. All we're left with is a void. There are no descriptions of the clothes she was wearing or any jewelry she had on, just a stark fact. She got a bus and vanished from her family's life. The bizarre hunt for a fictional pharmacist accidentally brought the very real, very tragic story of Linda Ann Miller back into the light. It's a powerful reminder that behind every cold case file is a real person, a family, and a story that deserves to be told. If you agree that it's important to keep these stories alive, please consider subscribing for more investigations into the mysteries that refuse to be forgotten. This became a story of two disappearances. The first was a fiction, a phantom born from a bizarre coincidence, a mystery that unraveled because its main character was never really there. But the second story is all too real. Linda Ann Miller stepped onto a bus in 1973 and into history, leaving behind only questions and a silence that lasted for 28 years. The strange case of the vanished pharmacist now serves as an accidental memorial, a glitch in the system, a modern ghost story. inadvertently forced us all to look back and remember a real woman who is still missing. Her case remains open, leaving one final haunting question: what really happened to Linda Ann Miller? If you have any information regarding the disappearance of Linda Ann Miller, please contact the Marion County Sheriff's Office.